In this mixtures experiment, we're going to see what happens when you put two different substances together. In some cases, you'll just get a mixture and those components will still be there. You can just separate them. Or the other possibility is when you put the substances together, they have a chemical reaction, form a new substance, and that new substance isn't easily converted back to the original substances. Anyway, the first part of our experiment is called new substance. And what we do for this part is that we add two solutions to an evaporating dish. So this is an evaporating dish. We add sodium hydroxide, 5 milliliters, and hydrochloric acid. And then we mix it up. Now this just looks like water, but it's actually the sodium hydroxide and the hydrochloric acid are each pretty caustic. You wouldn't want to get them on your skin, but they just mix together. And of course there's water here because these are aqueous solutions, so there's water in there. And the next thing we do is we heat that, as shown, and evaporate off the water and see what's left. So after heating it, there's some white residue in the evaporating dish. It's hard to see there. Let's look at a close-up. And we can see, if we look closely, there's some crustiness. We also see some little bitty crystals that look kind of like sugar or salt crystals. And if you paid attention in the notes, you know what that solid is. The main part of this experiment is the part with the salt and the sand. So starting with making a mixture, and I just wanted to kind of talk about it overall before we go through the steps. It's a tale of two beakers. We have a beaker 1 and a beaker 2, and we need to keep track of where the salt and sand are. But anyway, so we're going to start with both the sand and salt in beaker 1. And then as we progress through the experiment, we're going to get the salt to beaker 2 and the sand in beaker 1. And the whole key is when we start these, we're going to know what masses of salt and sand we started with. And then we'll be adding water and filtering and doing different things. In the end, we'll be figuring out how much salt we have in our beaker 2 and how much sand we had in our beaker 1 and see how much we lost, basically. We're going to start by getting a mass of beaker 1. So reading off of our balance, and this is our empty beaker 1. This will be your data A, and it is in grams. And again, it's the empty beaker, beaker 1. And we're going to do something interesting that maybe we haven't done before. Maybe we did it with weighing paper. But basically with that beaker still there, we push this button and it tears it, or the other word is zeros it. And you see how it reads 0 now, even with the beaker on there. So when we zero out the beaker like this, now anytime we add stuff, it will reflect the mass of what we added. So we zeroed out our beaker. So then to beaker 1, we're going to add our salt. And the procedure says to get about 1.5 grams. And so you may not get exactly that amount, but somewhere close. When you read the balance off, again, it will reflect just the mass of the salt and not the beaker because we zeroed out the beaker. So this is data point B. And it's in grams, and of course it's the mass of just the salt. And now we're going to zero out again. So we push that button, and the salt is still there, but we're zeroing it out so that then we can add the sand and get its mass. So after we zero it out, then we add our sand. And we add the sand slowly. We're looking for a mass of about 0.5 grams. We may not get exactly 0.5. That's what we're shooting for. And this is data point C. And that is grams again, and it's just the sand. we zeroed out the salt and the beaker. So at this point we have sand and salt in beaker 1, and now we're going to get out beaker 2. Set this aside. Okay, we're going to get the mass of our second beaker now, and instead of just getting the mass of the beaker only, we have some boiling chips added in here, and they're little rock-like gray pieces of carbon that basically help prevent splattering when you're boiling, which we're going to do later. So we're weighing it with that because later when we weigh, we can't get those out separated from the salt. Anyway, so when we weigh beaker 2, we're going to get its mass, and it will be both the beaker and the boiling chips. This is data D, and again, and it's in grams, it's the beaker with the boiling chips. And then our beaker 2 is ready for the next part.